Hello, all. Welcome to this week's astrology. Technically, take two for me because I realized I missed a really major astrological moment while finishing up my last video. So, you're welcome. I realized that Venus does go into Libra this week as well, which adds important context to this week. Anyways, to kind of put us into context, firstly, this week has slightly more than I thought astrologically, but it also doesn't have as many impacts with other planets. Most of them are planetary events rather than a contact with one planet and another, which I think gives us a nice break. However, we are technically headed into the eclipse portal, and it's kind of already started. If you count the side on either side of the eclipses, which I do, it's kind of like non-eclipse moon to the eclipse, and then we kind of have the portal in here, and then we have the other eclipse, and then the downgrade into the next non-eclipse moon. So we're headed up towards that new moon in Leo, not this week but next. And so it's important to know that while this week is a little calmer, we're also on the on ramp for eclipses, so keep that in mind. Also, really lovely bright side is about, I think, like beginning of this week. It's on my neck. Hopefully not a bug. At the beginning of this week, we get out of the Mercury post retrograde shadow. So we're officially cleared this week of that Mercury retrograde, which is chef's kiss, honestly. I'm ready to be out of the rumination and the extreme nostalgia and the having to process all the time, every time, never ending stuff coming through that I'm like, I thought we had finished this up. That will be over, so that's super nice. And then we get the Mercury ingress into Leo at the end of the week. But starting off, we do have Chiron stationing retrograde at 0 degrees of Taurus. This is, so Chiron's a planetoid. It's not as big as other things. It's not as important. Some astrologers don't even use Chiron. I do, because the minute I met Chiron, I was like, hello, brother. Because Chiron has a huge impact on my life. But this Chiron retrograde in the station, I think, is going to be a little tricky, because I think the ingress into Taurus was a little tricky as well, especially depending on your unique astrology. Mine was square Mars, so it was not the funnest. I literally was like, why am I suddenly doubting my years of skill and gifting in astrology and in psychic mediumship? And then I was like, oh yeah, Chiron in the ninth, square my Mars, like me being unsure of my abilities and the way that I take action in the world. So this station is going to be triggering similar stuff. So just look back at when we had, Chiron enter into Taurus, which I think was like a month or two so ago, a little over a month ago. It will be retrograde for a minute because it has a pretty long orbit. That's the word I'm looking for. And it stations direct on January 6th of 2027. So we will be retrograde with Chiron for the rest of the year. It will station at 26 degrees of Aries. So just keep that in mind. That it's going to, I think, once with these longer retrogrades, once you're in it, yeah, it has impact, especially when it hits planets, but it's not as destabilizing as the quicker retrogrades, like Venus and Mercury specifically come to mind. So it's not going to destroy your life. It's kind of similar to all of the discussion online about like the Saturn retrograde. That's another long retrograde. It's like, yeah, the station's tricky and stuff's going to happen and it does have an impact, but it's not the same as a shorter retrograde where everything's kind of packed into a few weeks. Like we have months to process, months to sit with it. We're going over the degrees much more slowly. Just know it's going to flare, whatever it flared when it entered into Taurus. And it is going to be around sensitive topics, especially in Taurus. It's about survival. It's about having the necessary tools and material possessions in order to survive. It's the physical side of survival. And it reminds me of how I've seen a lot online how CPTSD is a brain injury, and and that's a very Taurus Chiron subject of how your brain is physically changed, and it's crazy that it's not considered a very serious disability, and it's not even in the DSM, which is unfortunate. So yeah, just know that the station might be a little tricky. It's on Monday. But once we're in it, we will kind of settle into the processing and the working through stuff that we worked through earlier this year, which is similar to the Saturn retrograde. Then Thursday, the thing that I forgot, and also the only aspect we have this week, which is Sun trine Saturn retrograde at 14 degrees. So 14 degrees of Aries to a 14-degree Sun in Leo. And I'm actually looking forward to this. It feels like some information about stabilizing. It feels like something might stabilize. Yeah, it's retrograde, but if you've been doing a lot of work, a retrograde Saturn can be a stabilizing of work that you've already done and be an affirmation of the labor you've been doing. So I don't view it as like something to be feared or like, oh no, it's going to tear everything else up. That's not really how Saturn retrogrades work. I will say, if you've been on Threads at all, the discourse has been crazy and also very Saturn and Aries. Very much like, hey, look at me doing stuff that I'm not actually doing, but everyone thinks it's fun. Meanwhile, the dark specter that's actually hanging over us is the upcoming eclipses and then the subsequent Venus retrograde in October. And people are like, no, the Saturn retrograde is going to destroy my life. And I'm like, no, it's not. The eclipses might, the Venus retrograde might. And I don't believe in like doom and gloom, but those are way more impactful and way more likely to destabilize you than a Saturn retrograde. So the Saturn retrograde, I feel like this is very stabilizing, especially if you have been working since Saturn entered into Aries in the earlier part of this year. Also with the Sun, this is an opportunity to like use your power and your desires to connect with how you want to build going forward, with the way you want to rebuild things, with the way you want to integrate. Also, it's an opportunity to maybe like start something that might take some time because of the retrograde, but that you've been wanting to get going, and starting it on this Sun trine Saturn is a good aspect for that. Especially with it retrograde, to me, it's like it's not something you're going to get right away, but when you do get it, it will be fully processed. It will be fully locked in, very unlikely to be destabilized by a tower moment, say. So it's a really beautiful, beautiful moment, and I'm excited for it. To be honest, I am looking forward to that moment of clarity and connection, even when it is in a malefic context. And yes, I am paranoid about my technology. I've been having a lot of technological issues, so if I check my mic multiple times, bear with me. So yeah, it's a moment of strengthening and of fortifying and of really asking ourselves, do we want the things we've been working towards? And if we do, yay, continue working and building them. And if not, it's an opportunity to redirect and to reconsider. And now, the aspect that I forgot completely, and the other one, not really an aspect, the ingress that I forgot. Venus is going into Libra, which is great. We finally have another domicile planet. Freaking finally. What was the last domicile we had? Me thinking. I think it was Mercury and Gemini was our last domicile planet. So it's been a minute. It's been a couple months. You know, Venus in Libra is domicile. It is luscious. It is delicious. It is great for meeting people. It's great for connecting with people that we love. It is wonderful for finding beauty in everything. This Venus is going to really be a nice part of the cosmos that is going well. Now, this Venus will, of course, go into trines with Uranus and Pluto, which I think are going to be pretty big, and that's something that's going to be coming in next week. Um, so it's not all smooth sailing, but having this Venus domicile, I feel like it's going to bring change and maturity in relationship that in another placement might feel chaotic, but in this placement, Venus is like, okay, I'm having a lot thrown at me. Let me catch that and put it there. Let me grab that and put it there. And Venus is kind of organizing that chaos and that transformation and being like, hey, we can do this, but we can do this in a really pretty way. We can take this kind of hodgepodge and this intensity and kind of create something really lovely out of it, which I think is very wonderful. Yeah, next week is pretty intense. And also, like I said, we're heading towards that Leo eclipse. And that Leo eclipse will be ruled by that thing. So having Venus in a nice place is going to be quite nice. Venus will go into its opposition with Neptune, which might be a bit jarring, but this is about setting us up for success. It's about clearing the way for better relationships. It's also coming on the tail of this Mercury retrograde. And so if you have made the space, this is Venus getting in and doing some interior decorating in your personal life to prepare you for better relationships. And also Venus entering Libra, you know, we're not quite there yet. It's going to take another couple of months, but you know, is the preparation for the Venus retrograde. So enjoy this time, especially before we get to the retrograde degrees, which is the final decan of Libra, so we're not going to get there for a couple weeks. But enjoy this time of kind of lush connection, hang out with people, tell people you love them. Also, we'll have Mercury in Leo. We'll talk about that in a minute, but we'll have Mercury in Leo, and so you can be a bit verbose about it. You can really lean in. I think Mercury in Leo and Venus in Libra is a very fun combination because it's like all of this kind of luxury and connection and symmetry, and then the Mercury in Leo is like, I love you, and is like, and I care about you, and these are all my thoughts and feelings, and I want to share them with you. And that can be really nice to bring that harmony. And they're also in a sextile, which creates some really lovely symmetry, which we need this year. So enjoy it as a nice little offset to a lot of the astrology. Like I said, good time to meet people, good time to connect. Check out where this is in your chart. It'll be bringing some kind of Venusian blessing in, which once again we all need. And this all happens on Thursday, and then we get to Sunday, and on Sunday Mercury goes into Leo, and this is about the heart, and it's about sharing your truth and connecting to your belief. Mercury and Leo can be a little brash and a little bold, but sometimes that's what we need. Sometimes we need that forthright, um, honest sharing. And like Mercury and Leo, depending on where the sun is in a personal chart, can be very aware of what's happening, and aware that they might be kind of standing out from the crowd, and aware that they might be um not necessarily in the most kind of alignment with society, but they don't care. They're doing what they want, they're saying what they want. If you're in a situation or in a culture like ours where like saying I love you early on can be taboo, Mercury and Leo's like, bitch, I met 2 days ago, I love you. Bestie, I love you. We've just gotten to know each other. We're hanging out at a bar. Mercury and Leo is giving to me like that drunk girl at like 1 a.m. in the bathroom of a bar asking for a tampon and then being like, you're my best friend for forever. Just really intense. And I think we need that. And I think we're going to enjoy that after the kind of melancholy and emotive kind of cooling energy of Mercury in Cancer. It's a much needed boost, a much needed passion. Now, with Jupiter involved, this can also be people running their mouths because Jupiter will be there as well, and it'll eventually hit the South Node. It can be people running their mouths, overplaying their hands, um, maybe people committing to too much before they're ready and not really, this is someone who's like, oh, this person's my best friend just forever. And then you actually get to know them. You're like, oh, we're friends, but maybe we're not soulmates. We're friends, but maybe we're not going to spend every hour of every day together. So, pace yourself during this transit. You don't have to do everything all at once in order to create and foster a relationship with other people. You don't have to do everything all at once in order to maintain your job. In fact, you're probably better off pacing yourself. So enjoy this for what it is, recognizing that people will be popping off at this time. The internet's going to be very loud during this transit because of the opposition with Pluto and the conjunction with Jupiter, and then the subsequent cazimi with the sun, and all of those things. So enjoy. I will say for my quieter, more introverted folks, you might need to take breaks. So do that when you need it because it can be a lot of energy. That is pretty much all I have for you. But I do think it's important to kind of look at the differences between this week and next week. So this week, and then insert the Venus transit here because I forgot to put it in. But then we have this week, which is bing, bing, boom. We have that eclipse on Wednesday. We're going to have a lot of stuff happening that week. We have, Mars will go into Cancer. We're going to have North Node situations happening, Pluto stuff, just a lot going on. So enjoy this week and enjoy the fact that it is a bit more cohesive and we're moving into fresh energy and we're finding fresh connections. I will say it might feel very spicy for until we get to Mars moving into Cancer, because it will mean that literally everything is in fire and air, so everything will be very crispy. But at least it's in fire and air where Mercury is not necessarily in any bad condition. It's just kind of neutral. And then Venus is definitely thrilled to be in Libra. It's like, thank God. And out of Virgo, which I don't mind. A Venus in Virgo is in fall. Is it fall? Yeah, it's in fall. Which is slightly different from detriment. Is in fall in Virgo, but it does mean that like Venus gets to be a bit more analytical. Venus gets to be a bit more choosy and selective, which honestly can be kind of helpful. So just know that this week we are moving into a lusher place when it comes to connection and relationships. Not a bad time to, go on dates or try to connect with other people. It doesn't have to be romantic. It can also be just going to events where you find friends. Um, Venus and Libra is very connective. Venus and Libra can also be a pushover, so don't be that. But I do think that Mercury Leo is tempering that. It's kind of hard to be a pushover when you're running your mouth. Anyways, my loves, this is my reading for you. I know it's a little bit of a shorter one. Just remember the context of us heading into the eclipses. If you're like Abigail, you said this would be calm. We are on a train track up a cliff to the eclipse portal. So if things do feel a little more wild, that's why. But enjoy the little spaces and the little moments that are going to be present where you can find connection and you can find a bit of calm and, well, maybe not calm, but find a bit more stability. Anyways, my loves, many blessings. Oh, that's what I forgot. Never mind. You can stick around for a second while I plug my psychic connection class. It's going to be 5 courses on Sunday evenings, 6:30. I think it's 6:30 p.m. Central Time. Um, it's all about tools and methods for psychic connection and access. It's a very small class. You have a lot of access to me. The kind of set price is $250 for the classes, which makes each class about $50. But I am offering a sliding scale option as low as $100 to $350, I believe. So you can pay more if you would like to support my work more, or you can pay less and still participate in the class. But we'll go through the astrology of psychic gifts and how to use it to unlock your psychic connection. That'll be the first week. We'll go through tools like tarot and pendulums and touch briefly on other divination tools. We'll talk about spirit connections and how to begin those basics. And also things like astral travel and manifesting and going to other worlds and stuff will be included. And then the last week you get to pick, along with your other classmates, the topics you would like to cover. Enrollment will be up until that first class. So feel free to go on my website and sign up with the main base price, or jump over to my Instagram where you can DM me to access that sliding scale. And you don't have to give me a reason why. If you can't afford $250, you can't afford $250. And that's all there is to it. Anyways, please don't forget to like and subscribe and to follow me all the places that I am, YouTube and Instagram. Um, and share this with friends. It always helps me to grow and to expand my reach and to make my work feel even more worthwhile. Anyways, my loves, many blessings, and I'll see you later.